Today, everyone is talking about the AI revolution and how it is going to impact every aspect of our life. But one point that everyone is missing is AI is not just a code. It requires massive infrastructure to process terabytes of data. And when it comes to India, to be really honest, we are way behind the AI race. In fact, if you really want to play the AI theme, I recently discussed 7 US-based companies that are leading the AI race in the world. Do watch that video. However, if you still want to play this AI theme from India, then there's one part of AI value chain where India can benefit, and that's AI infrastructure, that is data centers. Just to give you an idea, today India's data center capacity is around 1260 megawatt and is expected to cross 4500 megawatt by 2030. That's a 3.5 times jump in capacity in the next 5 years. And companies like Reliance and Adani together are planning to invest around 210 billions in AI infra build up. Then TCS is planning to invest 6 to 7 billion in data centers in India. Likewise, hyperscalers like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they all have committed billions of dollars in building AI infrastructure in India. Just like road powered the industrial growth, data centers are going to power the digital growth. In fact, in the latest union budget, Indian government has clearly mentioned that it wants India to become a global hub for cloud and AI infrastructure and has introduced major policy incentives. So in today's video, I want to first discuss what exactly a data center is and how it works. Next, why data center can be a big beneficiary of AI boom in India. So what are the key growth drivers? This is the part 1 of the video. In the second part, I'll discuss which companies can benefit from rise of data centers in India. And finally, there's no theme which is completely risk-free. So I'll cover the key risk in the growth thesis for data centers. Alright, let's get started. A data center is basically a highly secure, temperature-controlled warehouse where thousands of servers are stacked inside racks, continuously storing, processing, and transmitting data. Every time you open a WhatsApp, stream Netflix, or use UPI, run ChatGPT, or access cloud software, your request travels to a data center somewhere. That's where the actual computing happens. Think of it as the factory of digital economy. Instead of manufacturing cars or steel, it manufactures computing power. The next question is, how does a data center work? So a data center not only needs to process terabytes of data, but it has to ensure that everything is running 24/7 without failure. To do that, a data center has a few critical components. First is IT equipment, that is the core. It includes servers, which is the actual computers doing the computation. So when you ask ChatGPT a question, it is a GPU server doing the thinking. Next is storage system, where data is stored. Then you have networking gears like switches, routers that move data between servers and to the outside world. This is the brain of data center. The next layer is power infrastructure. Data centers cannot afford even a few seconds of outage. In fact, power accounts for 40 to 50% of total capital expenditure of building a data center. Now, first of all, you need to understand the power value chain within data center, as there are many entities involved and it can get a bit complex. So power journey begins with national grid operating at extraordinary high voltages like 220 kilowatt, but there is no server, UPS or air conditioner on the planet designed to handle that kind of voltage. So the first step is to step down the voltage, and that's where your transformers comes into picture. They step down the voltage to usable level. So with transformer, power is stepped down inside the facility at, let's say, 33 or 11 kilowatt. But a data center is not one room. It is a complex of server halls, cooling plants, UPS rooms and offices, sometimes spread across hundreds of thousands of square feet. And power needs to get to all of it. Plus, it needs to be controlled. So you need to be able to switch sections on and off for maintenance. That is done by switchgear. Think of it as the traffic management and safety system for electricity inside the data center. Now let's say a transformer fault somewhere on the grid causes a few milliseconds power interruption. It can be catastrophic for data centers. Servers can crash and transaction can lost. Databases can corrupt. This is why your UPS, that is the uninterruptible power supply, comes into picture. Its job is to make sure that the moment grid power disappears, power continues to flow to every server without interruption. Now the thing is, UPS is useful in case of uninterrupted power supply for a few minutes. But what if the grid does not come back in minutes? What if there is a major fault or a storm or a transformer failure that takes hours to fix? That is where the diesel generator or gas turbine comes into picture. These are not small generators. A large hyperscale data center might have 20 to 30 diesel generator sets, each producing 2 to 4 megawatts of power. They are size of shipping containers. So the moment the UPS signals that it is approaching its battery limit and the grid has still not returned, the generator control system fires up the engine. Then your third layer in data center is cooling system. Now every computation generates heat, and in a data center where thousands of servers are running at full capacity around the clock, the amount of heat generated is extraordinary. If you do not remove that heat continuously and reliably, servers can overheat, throttle their performance, and eventually shut down permanently. For 20 years, data centers used precision air conditioning to solve this problem. Cold air in, warm air out. It worked because traditional servers consumed about 8 to 10 kilowatt per rack. And then came AI. An NVIDIA H100 GPU cluster consumes 40 to 80 kilowatt per rack. That is 5 to 8 times more heat in the same physical space. Air simply cannot remove heat that fast. The physics do not work. This is why solid cooling, where coolant is pumped directly to the chip, has gone from a niche technology to an absolute requirement for any AI-grade data center. Then fourth layer of data center is physical infrastructure. A data center is not just technology, it is a physical building. And building a data center is not like building an office or warehouse. The civil and electrical engineering requirements are extremely demanding. For instance, floor must support loads up to 1000 kg per square meter. The structural design must prevent vibration that could damage drives. The layout must optimize airflow, and this is where your EPC players comes into picture, which is your engineering, procurement and construction companies that actually build these facilities. Then finally, the fifth layer is connectivity and networking. A data center full of servers is completely useless if it cannot talk to the world. So connectivity operates at two levels. At physical level, you have cables, the actual copper and fiber optic cables that carry data. Power cables carry electricity from substation to the racks, and data cables carry the information between servers, between racks, and ultimately to the fiber optic backbone that connects to the rest of the world. At the network level, you have the fiber infra itself that include underground and submarine cables that carry data between cities, countries, and across oceans. So overall, this image would give you a good idea of how a data center looks like. Please note that a data center is not just a building with computers. It is a power-heavy, cooling-intensive, always-on digital infrastructure asset. I hope you got a good idea of what exactly a data center is and how it works. Now let's look at the key growth driver for data centers. So first growth driver is massive supply-demand gap. India generates around 20% of world's data but houses only 3% of global data center capacity. Today, data center vacancy rates are compressed to 4.3%. So vacancy rate means how much space is available. And there is 48% year-on-year growth in data center absorption in H1 of 25. Imagine a mall where only 4% of shops are vacant and suddenly new brands want 50% more space than last year. So demand is structurally outpacing supply across every major Indian city. Second driver is regulatory tailwind. Today, Indians are generating massive amount of digital data. Be it UPI transaction, online orders, digital banking, hospital record, and so on. And some of the data is very sensitive. And no country wants critical citizen data sitting randomly across global servers without regulatory control. And that's where your data sovereignty comes in. For instance, government introduced Digital Personal Data Protection Act that governs how digital personal data is collected, stored, processed, and protected. Also, Indian government has started positioning data centers as strategic digital infrastructure. For instance, in latest budget, government has introduced tax holiday until 2047 for foreign companies providing global cloud services using data center located in India. So these regulatory tailwinds would play a key role in creating structural demand for data centers for the next few years. Then third growth driver is hyperscaler commitment. Data center growth story is not just limited to demand and regulatory tailwind. It is clearly visible on ground level where big hyperscalers have already committed billions of dollars of investment. For instance, Microsoft has committed $17.5 billion over 4 years to build data centers. Google has committed $15 billion to build AI hub in India. Amazon is planning $12.7 billion investment in cloud infra by 2030. Then Reliance is building the world's largest data center campus in Jamnagar with billions of dollars of investment. TCS is planning nearly 50,000 crore investment in data center over the next 5 to 6 years. These are multi-year deployments that clearly gives visibility for massive growth in data centers in India. Then fourth growth driver is cost competitiveness. India's capex per megawatt is much lower than US and Europe due to cheaper land, labor and construction. And this is again a key reason why hyperscalers are investing heavily in India. Also, it's not just about capex, it's also about OPEX, that is operating cost. And here power is the biggest cost driver with 50 to 60% contribution. So renewable energy tariff in India are already among the lowest globally. Also, India has an aggressive renewable energy target of 500 gigawatt by 2030, which means supply is expanding structurally. That reduces the long-term power risk. Also, many states are actively supporting data center policies with dedicated feeders, priority connections, and open access renewable sourcing. So all these factors would drive the growth in Indian data centers. So I hope you got a good clarity in terms of what exactly is a data center, how it works, and key growth drivers. Overall, in AI race, India may not lead the world in building GPUs or foundational AI models. That battle is largely being fought in US and China. But when it comes to building the physical layer, like power heavy, coolant intensive, always on digital infrastructure, India has a real opportunity. Capacity is expected to jump from 1260 megawatt to 4500 plus megawatt by 2030. Hyperscalers have committed billions. Domestic giants like Reliance, Adani, TCS are investing aggressively. Government policy is supportive. Renewable energy is relatively cheap. Land and construction costs are competitive. So structurally, the direction is clear for data center. Now the next question is, which Indian company can benefit from data center boom? Also, no theme is risk-free. So before investing your money, you should be very clear about the key risk. We'll discuss it in the second part. Till then, stay tuned.